Well, we are here at the sprint car capital of the world, and it makes sense to talk to a couple of people who've been here.
Once.
Once? Dave Rieff and Tony Bokhoven. Collectively, how many laps would you guys have seen around this place?
Oh, that guy.
boy.
Yeah, I don't even. That's got to be
Oh
astronomical.
boy,
Um,
have to be in the millions, wouldn't it?
and, unfortunately,
Between the two
my
of us?
time. I'm sure in the million. My time here actually was not nearly as long as I wish it would be. Knowing what I know now, this place is unbelievable. So, yeah, I mean, I'd hate to think how many you've seen.
Oh man. Well,
My
I mean,
goodness.
yeah, I couldn't tell you. So I
I
tried
don't.
one
I think
time.
millions short.
Yeah,
It's got to
right.
be probably near the deficit.
I tried. I tried one time to figure out when someone else was celebrating their 2000th race how many races I had seen here, and it was like 1,500. You know.
Yeah,
in
right.
total since I've been here. But you know, if you turn around here in a second, Wade. So, and I said this to Dave yesterday. If not for Dave Rieff, even though Cappy hired me,
Yep.
if not for Dave Rieff, there wouldn't be a Tony Bokhoven
I
because
refuse to believe it.
Dave was going to the interview at TNN, and that's how I got the opportunity here. And the first time I ever actually talked to Dave was if you were to turn around and look at where like the FVP billboard is. That was the first night I went down there with Dave. He was working in the infield, and we hyped up the crowd. And he said, "You've got to be able to hype up the crowd. If you're going to do this, you got to be able to get them excited." And we hyped up the crowd together right behind where the FVP billboard is. Won't ever forget.
I couldn't believe it. There used to be a shack back there. I was going to go store some things down in there, but the shack's even gone. But you know, the beautiful thing about this place is it's really not lost any of its aura. I mean, it's become more corporate. I love the banners. It spices things up. Over here, the VA hospital's kind of been torn down. Some things you come in on the back road,
Yeah.
now you look over and see this place. But you know, places like this. When Tony Stewart bought Eldora, I'm like, oh dear God, please don't make it too commercial. No, they've kept their charm. They've kept their aura. They've kept their mystique, and it's always a pleasure to come back here. Never ever should have left this place. Shame on me, but left it in good hands.
Well,
If
thank you.
it were in my hands, it's never in my hands. But
You're both tied to drag racing as well. You've done a phenomenal amount of drag racing broadcasting, and Tony, your passion pretty well started out because your dad back in the day,
Yeah.
right, with Eddyville and places like that.
Yeah, that's where I started going to races was at Eddyville, and then when my dad he crashed his motorcycle there, went 180 through the lights, and then the bike came through. And and so then we started coming here after he quit drag racing, and but yeah, I mean my passion has always been drag racing. I love it. It's why I have that Pinto that I play around with very rarely, but it's my connection back to the sport, right? It's where I got my love for racing, really.
It's incredible. We were just talking about Marlon Jones and John Sinnett, and because that incredible crash that almost like a train wreck in turn one there with Stephen Brock, who were and they walked away. I wore that out, that VHS tape.
Yeah.
We have so much history here that you just think back to the people that have raced here and the experiences that you guys had broadcasting here. Some of them, the most significant moments in sprint car racing.
I was in an interview this morning, and they asked me what were my most memorable interviews that I've done.
Yeah.
Here. And man, there's been a lot of them, but Greg Hodnett's last win here,
Yeah.
I called that race, and when Brian Burkhofer passed Scott Bloomquist coming for the win in the late model nationals, and of course the Jason Johnson one. But there's so many moments when Doug Wolfgang got inducted into the Knoxville Raceway Hall of Fame. Robbie was just, maybe 5 or 6 years old. He was really young, but he was standing in the window just on the other side of the announcer's booth looking out. And Doug made the comment that what was most special for him was that Robbie had never heard any of those stories. And he pointed up at him as he was like plastered against the window. And there's just moments like that you can't buy in the store. You can't buy it from Jeff Bezos. And there are things that when you quit doing this, you're like, those were the reasons that I did this every week.
I definitely know what mine was. Again, limited time here before jumping up to whatever that national stage was and doing more television things, which means you lose touch with the people. But easily here would have been when Lasowski finally won the Knoxville Nationals.
Yeah.
Obviously cutting your teeth with him, watching Brian Brown as a teenager back then.
Yeah.
I always called him Brian Austin Gurr, the kid from 90210, because that's exactly what he looked like. Shaved that beard off, he probably still does today. But being able to do that was a moment. Again, I didn't do anything spectacular. I was just smart enough to be in the right place at the right time. You're getting the winner's interview, put a mic in front of Lasowski and just let him go because the moment speaks for itself. But when you were talking about all of the various things, it got me thinking about the TNN days back when we were doing Friday nights and some of the longer shows. I remember one of the greatest shows that I look fondly back on. We were up at Fargo, and we did a crowd shot. This is back when we had a little bit more time. We opened the show. We talked to drivers. We did a heat race. There was 10 minutes between heat races.
Yeah.
There was no rushing. But they go to the shot, and it's Sheldon Honshield's a little kid, and some of the other drivers that are out today, just as little kids standing up, holding up their signs and stuff like that. Those are the memories that stick out. Drag racing, you mentioned, boy, my passion. The very first thing I ever discovered was here. I remember it like it was yesterday. It was the 2-day Outlaw Show in 1992. One of them snowed out. The second day we raced. We stood on what was then the platform next to the double wide, for lack of better words. And I've never been more cold in my entire life. But you would not have moved me for anything.
So, when you talk about drag racing,
Game changer.
and always envious that you were doing that, but how does announcing at the U.S. Nationals compare to announcing at the Knoxville Nationals? Because both, arguably, the biggest things in their respective sport, right?
As a pit reporter, yes, a pit reporter. And did I do a Knoxville Nationals from up top? I had to, probably. No, probably. Well, I don't know, but I remember the day that the U.S. Nationals. It's 5:30 in the morning. We're getting ready to do an NHRA race day on Monday, Labor Day. Phone rings. It's producer. Hey, Eric, what's up? He's like, Paul's in the hospital. I'm like, okay. So what's that mean? He's like, Paul's in the hospital. This is, of course, Paul Page, the legendary voice of Indianapolis, who came on board with us. It's like, Paul's in the hospital. He's sick. I'm like, okay. Like,
what are you telling me?
Dude. I'm like, for what? But it was the most surreal thing because we got done with the end of the day, which went by like so fast you can't even imagine. I took the circuitous route, or the long way home, drove by the speedway, and just kind of soaked it all in. I had the first flight out of Indianapolis, connected. I'm in my backyard in Omaha, Nebraska at 9:45 in the morning on Tuesday after Labor Day going, did that?
Yeah.
Was that a dream? Did that just happen? But it did, and so.
Do you come down after an event? It's like
no.
Tony and I do, right? We talk for hours sometimes after an event.
It takes forever
it takes
to get unwound. It really does. That's when I became sort of appreciative of Dale Earnhardt. When I think it was Jimmy Spencer that said something to Dale one time. He says, "You got to get on social media." He's like, "No." He's, well, if you win the race, you have to do it. And he wins the race, and the next thing you know, I'm driving back from drag races to the airport in all across the country, and Junior's still up tweeting. He's all right, I'm up because I can't go to bed after a race, so let's have conversations. And so it's hard to come down, especially after big events.
Even like last night, it takes me easy 3 hours to get to where I feel like, okay, I could go relax now, and
it's easy to identify when you get there because it goes from okay.
Yeah.
Well, and his neighbour is Kelly Bacon, so he just needs to slide over and get a marinated gummy with some liquor in it, and he'll be sleeping like a baby.
If they ever offer you anything in a bowl that's floating, don't take it.
It doesn't even matter what the race is like. Yes, ideally, it's great if there's a great race, but the magic of this place, that's what it's about. We've seen some races that have been better than others. There've been some A-mains where Kyle's just dominated and things like that. But it's the aura, it's the people we meet in the midway down there. It's when you're at the Knoxville party and all the legends of the sport are standing around you shoulder to shoulder. That's what, you don't see that in cup racing. You don't see that in Formula One. You certainly don't see it in IndyCar where the fans can walk up and say, hey. And you get it all the time, Tony. People come up to us all the time, don't they?
Well, like last night, I went down to the hot dog feed, right? And some lady walks up to me and she's got 4 hot dogs in her hand and she says, "You want a hot dog?" And I'm like, "Okay, sure." I don't know who that lady was, right? But that's the atmosphere. It's like, people are just, they're fans, and everybody's here for the same reason, and everybody wants everybody else to have fun, and it's about making memories. And this place, that's the thing, right? There are so many opportunities to make memories here, whether it's a race or what happens in the campgrounds or turns 3 and 4 after the bar closes. It's unbelievable, really.
I'm a big fan of 80s hair metal. By the way, I heard your shout out on Sirius XM one time.
Oh, did you? On Hair Nation?
Working tile in my bathroom. All of a sudden, I'm like, holy crap, that's way laundry. That's amazing. But Cinderella's, you don't know what you got till it's gone. So when I left in 1996, I went back home. I was living in Eldora, Iowa at the time, and I had Sunday with my wife, and fiance at the time, and I had to get in the car and be to work at Diamond P Sports, and they walked away.
And they
Tuesday,
walked away.
And I'm just torn. And finally, Monday morning at 8 a.m., I'm like, I got a 24-hour drive ahead of me. And if I leave now, I can walk into work at 8 o'clock and be. But I got to Donaldson, Iowa, just south of Iowa City, and I called my wife, and I'm like, if you tell me it's okay to turn around and come home, I will let this go. Because 1996 to me is still one of the greatest years of my life. Got married, still love my wife to this day. God love her for putting up with me. Was doing this place, track announcing, doing a weekly show with Chris Crone, who still shoots video.
What a legend, mate!
Knoxville Raceway
What a
weekly.
legend!
And then we had
That's not his legs coming down there. Could be.
Well, that would be awesome. But and then we had our little Central Iowa show, because there's so many racetracks in this area. Knoxville, of course, chiefly among them for sprint cars, but Boone with the IMCA's. Pick a racetrack. There's Stewart, there's Webster City, there's Marshalltown. So it was very easy to fall in love with this sport here. And it's kind of like you always remember your first.
Right.
Love everything about Central Iowa. Love everything about this racetrack. There was a time where I said to my wife, if I die, cremate me and figure out how to put it here.
You mentioned Chris Crone, and after you had left, then I started. He did that show with Tony Morrow for a while.
Yeah.
And then they asked me to do.
You got a better looking host out of that deal, trust me.
Well, but here's the funny part of that. We would record most of the voiceovers for that show in Chris's car out in the parking lot.
That's cool.
Because there was no sound booth over at the Hall of Fame.
No.
It was either a closet, and they had to go turn the air conditioner off because the air conditioner was right there, or we would go sit in Chris's car. And it's like, man, people think this TV thing's all glorious and glamorous and stuff, but it's like, here we are in the parking lot of the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame in an old Toyota that won't hardly make it across town recording this show, right? And
guess what's happening here in just a little bit? We'll put this on, and I will do the ins and outs for CBS Sports.
Oh, please
CBS
do.
Sports show from Extreme Outlaw Midgets down at Federated Auto Parts Raceway I-55.
Come on, give us something.
I haven't even looked at it yet.
Or just give us one. Just give us something. Come on, Rieff.
Oh.
We're live in 10, 9, 8, 7. Come on. 6, 5. Put the headset on. 3. Get us 2, 1, and Dave.
Back at Beaverly, Missouri for the Federated Auto Parts Raceway I-55 Ironman 55 weekend. It's time for the Extreme Outlaw Midget feature. Cannon McIntosh picked up the win last night. Is he going to go back-to-back? We're about to find out together with the voice of the Outlaws right now. There you go. Voice of the Extreme Outlaws, I should say.
That's so
Ron
hard
Klepper.
to do. When people say that to me, they're like, hey, do your Let's Go Racing thing. It's like, I can't just do that on I can't just do it, right? I have to be in the moment, ready to go, cars getting ready to push off, but that's pretty good.
I think anxiety will forces you to do weird things, because when that little red light, one of my favorite ever stories, this is back in the early days. It's just two guys doing a half-hour show. We're splitting up on one place, and this is the days where we had the big old cameras with I guess we were into SVHSs, but I can still remember the tethered three-quarter deck that had to be tethered to a camera. So you'd set up your tripod, put the light on top. Never mind, the light had a big giant battery belt. You set it on the ground, set up the light, hit record on the camera, walk out in front, stand there, walk back up the tape. You're just trying to frame yourself. There's nobody to help you. In the meantime, people are coming around. All right, so you get it all framed up, and okay, here we go. Hit the record button, walk out in front. 3, 2, 1. Tonight, the world. 3, 2, 1. At the Knoxville. Everybody's like, "Come on, man! You love this stuff. It's easy. It's easy." I'm like, come here. Take the microphone. Right into that piece of glass right there. Go. I got this. All right, now shut up, give me my microphone.
I always thought that doing
right down there.
I always thought doing live TV was way easier though, because you don't have time to overthink it. It's like, okay, when they come to me, I gotta go, and whatever I say is what I say.
I say this all the time. It is definitely harder to do, which drag racing was tape delayed. It was tape delayed, put together in order, but you have this mentality of being very, very relaxed when you're in a tape delayed situation. You know you have time to do edits, but then that gets you behind, and the next thing you know, you're backed up at the end of the day, and there's more pressure. When you're doing a live show, there's all this pressure. I'm like, oh my God, we're gonna live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 at the Knoxville rate, and then you just fall right into it, and everybody gets into their rhythm.
But same but different, right? So let's just say Sheldon starts on the pole for the Knoxville Nationals, and you go, oh man, you must be nervous. For me, there's nothing like the rush of what we do when it's time to go live. when it's time to
Yeah.
throw, when it's time.
Yeah.
People say, "Oh, I don't know how you could do it." It's like I love it.
It's
I
our-
love
it's our
working
Friday
without a
Night
net.
Lights. It's our being in the sprint car. We're never going to be a sprint car. So closest thing we can do is this.
Right, for sure.
It's changed a lot, Tony, and you guys both know this since streaming. Now people hang on every word. Back in the day, the fans, the only ones that heard you were either if it was a TNN special or something like that, or they were in the stands. Now they hear every word, and people are so reactive to that. There's a lot more pressure on choosing your words now than there ever used to be.
For sure there is, because when I started here, we were just announcing to the people that sat in the grandstands, and now we're announcing to the people that sit in these suites, the people in the grandstands, and the people at the Hall of Fame. And then we add 2 more big towers onto the back of it, and then you bring in streaming. And now when you think people don't hear you, they hear everything. And then you
Wherever
add
they
in
are in the world, yeah.
the My Race Pass audio, right? And so there are all these opportunities for people to listen to you, and there's an expectation that we're perfect. We're
Gonna get it
experts,
right
we
every
know
time.
Everything about it. We're never gonna mess up. I messed up last night in time trials, and I know more than messed up. It wasn't 30 seconds, and my Facebook Messenger was just blowing up. It's like, you don't have to tell me I screwed up. I'm pretty aware of it. I know exactly what I did wrong. But people are relentless. Like, there is no more mercy, right? They expect us to be on all the time.
And respectfully, people need to understand. I don't mind when people point things out.
Right.
I really don't. I mean, it means they're watching, and I can take critique. Trust me. But I will promise you that I am my own worst critic. And there will be times where I can be on an airplane coming home from a big race weekend and be like, God dang, we nailed that thing this weekend. The plane will be landing. I'm like, did I say that? Oh my God, that's wrong.
Yeah.
We just talked about the Brad Doty moment. We just talked about it. We relived that, right? And Laurie was obviously very emotional, and you said to her, does this bring closure to your life? I vividly remember the interview you did with her, and yet you're kind of half beating yourself up over that because you think, I'd like to have done that better, I'd like to have done this. But the reality is we have to respond in the moment. Now, when the gravel and Hunter situation, Schoenberg is, what we see is not always what you get to say. We're not judge, jury, and executioner. They got together. The safe place, Tony, is they got together. When J-Mac and Cy got together, they got together. It's not our job to say, boy, I don't know what Schoenberg was thinking then, or gravel turned down on him, or that's not our job.
No, our job is not to place the blame on anybody. It's just to acknowledge what happened, right? And when they get together, David took the opportunity to straighten it out in his mind, of who did what in that situation, and James did the same thing and owned the situation here on the front straightaway with Cy Lynch. So as an announcer, it's not up to us to determine who did it right or wrong. It's just for us to say what happened.
Correct. And I was watching the other night in 3 and 4 in particular, when someone gets a run through 3 and 4, like Austin McCall shoved it in on the inside, someone going to the 3, I went, and the guy on the outside just mats it. And you go, these people are not of this world. When you can run the top wide open at Knoxville, we can't do that. The 3 of us have never done that.
No. And if you've never, been, obviously you capture everything on video if you're fortunate. You can psychoanalyze it 87 different ways. But the closer you get to the action, the more you hear that sound of twisting metal and just you try to put yourself in that situation. No, there's no chance at all. But you're 100% right. We've got to try to stay as a because I've never driven a race car, so I can't say that somebody did something wrong. I argue with the guys back at Dirt Vision about that all the time. Well, you've been doing this so long. What's your opinion? I'm like, you don't want my opinion. I don't want to give you my opinion because I don't want to be psychoanalyzed. But just like we're under the microscope, so to speak, for everything we say, so are these drivers. I mean, they're getting beamed to the world. Everybody's capturing it, whether it's from and now we've got these multiple angles.
Right.
I mean, it used to be going back to Knoxville Raceway Weekly. If you didn't come to the racetrack, you didn't know what happened. You can read about it, whether it's in Speed Sport or local papers and stuff like that. But if you want to watch it, you have to watch it a week later. And a lot of times we didn't have as many cameras as we do today. Technology's made it so that we did lose a camera last night, unfortunately, in our storm. But that was not a $100,000 camera. That was a $3,000 to $5,000 camera. But the cameras are so good now.
Right. And like last night with the David Gravel situation, it wasn't 5 minutes and that video clip was already on X. It was already on Facebook. People that are watching on Dirt Vision, they've recorded it, they've posted it, and the analyzation starts, right? And and everybody's got the right opinion. Just ask them.
And nobody was in the cars.
Mike Dunn, I remember there's a lot of what we call Dunnisms, just the great time spent with him. He had a lot of opinions, and he says, just because you have the right to free speech doesn't mean you should use it. And I'd love to say that to people on the internet.
Yeah.
But, again, it's an opinion. It's your opinion. I don't necessarily share it. I think it's dumb what you said. But I like the Dunnism.
Yeah, that's very true, because people sometimes expect us to give an opinion, right? They're like,
Yep.
well, you won't say anything because you
Yep.
work at Knoxville. No, I won't say anything because I wasn't driving the car. I wasn't in that situation that Hunter was in when they all thundered down into turn number 1.
Yep.
I'm not sitting in that car. I don't know what they're going
None
through.
of us could know.
Oh, and by the way, because they think that I work for Dirt Vision, that I won't say high limit. High limit, high limit, high limit, high limit, high limit. There. I will say high limit, absolutely.
I've went on record more than one time about my position on that. I think by not acknowledging either series, whichever side of the fence you stand on, all you're doing is drawing more attention to the other one. So by acknowledging, like last night, high limit driver, I didn't say one was better than the other. I just paid respect to the series. It would be no different than if Dave Darlin was racing here and I acknowledged USAC, or somebody from ASCS was racing here, or Power Eye, or pick your series. But by not acknowledging it, that's when someone should say, well, you're not being a professional announcer. Your job is to acknowledge it. Right. But you know what I mean? It's
absolutely.
That's the heartburn I have is, I took some pretty good heat here last year because I was told by someone not to say high limit, and so I didn't. And man, I got savaged the next day on the internet about the fact that I didn't mention it. It's like, wait a minute, I'm willing to talk about it, because we should. I mean, they're not. Neither one of them are going away. And from my perspective, I don't want either one of them to go away. I want them to both get better. I want the fans to reap the benefit of both of them. And that's ultimately how I feel about the two series.
There's an amazing movie, and I think Eddie Murphy is in it. And it's about a tree, and the tree only has a certain amount of leaves. And every time the character says a word, a leaf falls off the tree. You only have a certain amount of words in your life. You know what
I remember that.
So it's like, choose your words, because you've only got a certain amount of them. That's what I wish people would do on Twitter. Instead of going, boy, I wish Wade Orange's microphone would break tonight. Why does he bang on about the wave so much? Why does he? Why not just go, I love sprint car racing at Williams Grove, at Knoxville Raceway. Why don't we just use words that promote rather than tearing? And that's just the planet now. But I get pissed off with it. I don't look at X anymore because I'm like, here we go. Here we go.
There's no point.
But why aren't we just using the words we have to go, how good is this?
Find the positive. Yeah.
Right.
There's so many.
Because it's easier for people to just complain about something, right? And I think part of it is too is social media has allowed people to have way too much access. When I was a kid, my access to the world of outlaws was when the postman got done reading my Speed Sport news and I found out about it 3 days late. That was my access. But guess what? The first thing I did was I was looking for anything that said Rocky Hodges.
Yep.
And if he was leading the race and got crashed out, I couldn't go on the internet and bag on Kevin Huntley because they banged wheels and Kevin won instead of Rocky. I couldn't do that. It was just, well, shit. I got to cheer louder for Rocky the next time I see him on the racetrack. That mentality is gone.
It has.
That's fair.
There's still so much beauty in this. When did you first pick up the mic? How many years ago did you pick up the mic? That you remember officially?
Well, it would have been at Iowa State, just up the road in Ames. I think into my fourth or fifth major there. Journalism, I walk in, it's a sports staff. They say, warm body, learn how to run that camera. You're voicing morning sports. And then the number 3 guy says, hey, April of 92, says, you want to go to a race? I said, never been, don't have an opinion. Don't know anything about this. Don't watch people turn left, run around circles. I said, yes, and the story is, you're gonna love it. It's sprint cars. I'm like, what's a sprint car? Barn door on top, wings, blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, cool. And they call them World of Outlaws. I'm like, ooh, Outlaws, cool. Let's go. And yeah, now I'm right back on that platform. Freeze my keister off.
So how old were you then?
Well, 92. I'd have been 23.
Yeah. And you?
So my first pickup of the mic was at Eddyville. They ran
Yeah.
Legend. This was in '93. They ran Legend cars at the
Yeah.
circle track at the end of the drag strip.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting in the grandstands, and Mick Trier comes up to me and says, "Hey, my announcer didn't show up. Would you do me a favor and would you announce these cars tonight?" And I said, "I don't know how to announce." He's like, "No, but you know about racing." And he hands me the microphone and he hands me a roster of who's signed in. And that was it. And I'm sitting at the top of the grandstands, and there's probably only 50 people in the grandstands.
Felt like 5,000, I
right.
bet.
And that was my first go at it, right?
Felt
And
like every eye and every ear are on you.
exactly. But, you know, you just make what you can of it. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me because it got me an opportunity to connect with racing at a level. I don't have a rich dad. I wasn't going to get a race car bought for me, right? So if I was going to get into racing, I was going to have to do it my own way, and that was how I did it.
Can you listen to your early stuff? Because I can't.
No
I
way.
can't listen to my current stuff.
Me either.
I really can't.
I don't want to listen to any of my, because I started like 89, 90, something like that, like on the infield at Bunbury, and I was announcing with Con Migro, who was like the voice with Chuck Redmond, those guys, and I thought I could try and go with them pound for pound, and I had no business trying to announce like those guys.
When I was a kid coming here, Con would come here and announce on occasion.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, I loved it, the first time I ever heard him say, "And he's going to throw the kitchen sink into the corner." You know? And it was great. It was like this Australian guy, and he's throwing the kitchen sink. What are you talking about? But it was awesome. It was so great. And I'll never forget that. But there's been so many of those moments that it's like, man, I am the luckiest dude in this joint.
Yep.
I feel like I've had plenty of really good mentors. Obviously, the guys that were here when I started was a great base to start from. But then, I mean, I wanted to chase the big, brighter things.
Yeah.
And I got the opportunity to go to Diamond P, which put me hand in hand with Steve Evans on a weekly basis.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget
So
Steve
good.
putting his arm around me one time, and he's like, "You really dig this shit, don't you?" I'm like, "Thank you, Steve. I appreciate that."
He was in American
It was
Graffiti,
wonderful.
wasn't he?
Steve is something else. There's not another person like Steve. And then, of course, you throw Bob Fry in the mix, who's an encyclopedia of NHRA knowledge, and eventually you move up to the Paul Pages of the world, and it's just you try to glean something from everybody. But you still got to make it your own, and I've had some good teachers along the way, and apparently maybe I'm passionate about a couple things. I don't know.
It's, you talk about when you started here, Tim and Jack, and then Dennis Wilson came along, and
Yes.
When we started coming here, Tim would do this thing when after the anthem and all that stuff was done, he'd say, "Okay, race fans, what time is it?" And that's when he would do, "It's showtime." Well, the thing was, you were supposed to stay standing until he asked you what time is it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so I'll never forget that. As a little kid, coming here, I was probably at first maybe 10 or 11, something like that, 12. But, we would be sitting down here, Section F, row 7. That's where we sat every week. And you just looked forward to standing up, waiting for Tim to say it. And people would, turn around, and he would get the crowd all buzzed up because we announced from outside, or he announced outside then. And then he'd be like, "Race fans, what time is it?" And then he would do his, "It's showtime."
Yeah.
It's those kind of things that, man, I miss those things so much here. But that's the lore of this place, right? That's what makes this place so special.
It's changed a little bit. That's what I do love coming back periodically. Obviously, the sweet towers that are sitting over there now are second to none. I mean, this place just continues to be my utopia, man. It's just there's no place.
Man,
like this.
it's a worn out thing now. 30 years later, it's the Field of Dreams. It
I
really
heard
is.
you
It's
say that. It
our
really
shoeless
is.
Joe Jackson. It really is.
I remember, Dave, that there used to be trees all along here. And there was trees outside of 1 and 2. And every now and then they'd flip a car up into the trees. And I think it was Deaver Towing. They had this big, monstrous old wrecker, but it had a big long boom on it, and they would use it to lift those cars out. They lifted John Surnett's car out of the trees down here one time. But those are things that are long gone. But man, I look down there. If you look to where the Brant billboard is, I can still see those trees standing there, and I can still see the Quonset huts on the back straightaway where the grandstands are at now. And
Look at this for an example. We had a lot of rain overnight. You want to talk about unsung heroes?
Yeah.
How about these guys out here in these trucks right now? They're their own trucks.
Yeah.
There's a guy out there, Dave, with this XLT Ranger, which is like 78 model, and it is cherry. I'm not sure where he is at the moment, but I know he'll be out there. Takes a village, boys.
Yeah, sure does.
It's a big village, absolutely, and it can't be done without those guys. I
love this shit so much. I just love it more than I've ever loved it because I see the beauty of it and I worry there's not many leaves on the tree left. So I only want to pick the good ones, you know?
hear you. I hear you.
It's good to see you guys.
Good to see you.
Hell yeah. What time is it?
Showtime.
Showtime.